Okay, I would like to invite the two distinguished speakers that will participate in the next panel, Mr. Dagoumas and Mr. Poullikkas. Okay, thank you both for participating in this interesting panel. We have to speed up a little bit. Sorry for that. And allow me to start with our guest. Okay, so Mr. Poullikkas, he's the chairman of the Cyprus Energy Regulatory Authority. So we are very privileged to have the leaders of regulatory authorities in Greece and in Cyprus. So, Mr. Poullikkas, the existing market design in Cyprus, do you think that it can support the energy transition? And which design issues are critical for the energy transition and support especially the renewable energy systems?
Good morning, and thank you for the invitation. Let me start first from the history of the energy markets. Actually, regulation for the energy sector began with the corporatization, as we remember, desegregation and privatization of the energy sector since 1990. States implemented these reforms at their own pace and each on their own way. At that time, the system was effectively in a steady state condition. Inputs and outputs and production and delivery technologies were known and with near certainty. The energy transition now underway is dismantling these conditions. Stability and linearity are being replaced by uncertainty and complexity. While uncertainty begins in the physical systems of the production, of the storage, of the consumption, invades the market and the regulatory framework as well as the governance as well. So the regulation and the governance sit at top of these physical systems. And there are various questions raised. First question is how to minimize curtailments for solar and wind, and at the same time increasing the penetration of the renewable energy sources. How to accelerate investments, for example, in transmission and distribution in order to sustain the energy transition. How to accelerate investments in storage technologies, and also how to move maybe towards hydrogen economy and at what cost. So is the new market being designed to serve all those issues? In effect, the regulatory system no longer views consumer, and it was mentioned before, as people just using electricity, installing appliances, installing solar technologies or storage at their premises. Instead, the consumers now are increasingly treated as market participants or as energy traders who take the market position based on contracts they choose to enter. This means that we need to rethink on the redesign of the electricity market. Since the current electricity market actually works in theory based on the supply and the demand principle, but we still support optimal operation and investments. For example, the short-term spot price signal is essential to ensure dispatch of all assets and flexibility resources. Therefore, marginal pricing should be maintained. Also, the unit-based bidding is superior to the portfolio-based bidding. The central scheduling market architecture is superior to the self-scheduling system, and so on and so on. Of course, in the case of emergency, as we had during the current crisis. We have available the various intervention policies, such as the ex-ante market mitigation options. But it's important to mention that the European Union internal electricity market can support, can finance the energy transition. Which actually allows the integration of renewable energy sources in the electricity market. By meaning allows the integration of renewable energy sources in the internal electricity market, that means that the renewable energy sources can participate in the market with the same rights, but also with the same obligations as with the conventional technologies, meaning that the renewable energy sources have the same obligations as the conventional producers on reserve and on balancing issues. So let me close by mentioning that the European Union internal electricity market, which is based on the target model, which we will adopt in Cyprus maybe by the next year. We are now in a transitional phase. Acts as a catalyst for the energy transition, which promotes the integration of renewable energy sources. In Cyprus, we have built the target model based on the net pool model. That means that renewable energy sources are entering the market with the same rights and same obligations, as I mentioned before, as the conventional technologies. And also, the electricity market can support the financing of the energy transition. Thank you.
I think that you will be busy for the next time period, quite busy, but I would never think what would happen with the Greek Regulatory Authority, which is now Regulatory Authority for Waste, Energy and Water. And I would like to ask you, Mr. Dagoumas, what are the priorities of the new Regulatory Authority and what are the main challenges under these recently extended responsibilities?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, for the introduction. It's my pleasure for being here, and as you know, I'm a member of the society and a professor in energy economics. So please allow me to give also an academic perspective on what we have done. As you know, we have extended our responsibilities. We think we have done our work with professionalism. That's why many regulators in Europe ask for our support, which is not very common for Greek regulators. So practically, we have updated our structure to the new regulation, to the new legal framework. And we are now waiting for the political decisions for supporting us because we lost several of staff and especially senior staff. So in order to be able to commit with even more professionalism, we will expect the support from the state on those important issues. But it's important as priorities to identify that always the regulator will protect the public interest and the consumer. That's why it's important to provide you some examples on the way we think, because we have also a discussion on rethinking energy markets. So please allow me to show how we have been adapted to modern regulation. So if you see it from academic perspective, classical regulation concerns command and control. So in that sense, you set the rules and then you control if these rules are applied. This is the way, for example, that have been elaborated for many years. For example, for the debt from the retailers to the network operators, who have implemented fines. Those fines are appealed, they go to the courts, they take several years, and the result is not so successful in the level of debt. On the other hand, the modern regulation concerns behavioral insights based on the work of the nudge theory from the Nobel laureate Richard Thaler, and the professor of Harvard, Kassenstein, that say that it's better to nudge, to push the market participants towards one target. So in that sense, we have decided to have the positive reference of the companies that do not owe money, and this has led to very short time to the rapid reduction of debt at the levels of about $500 million for many years to few millions. So it was a very successful result of modern regulation, the nudging theory. Another example of modern regulation is, as you know, in the European framework, we discuss about the active consumers. This is the directive in 1943 and 94 that wants active demand participation of active consumers. In that sense, you know that in the Greek regulator, we have done a lot of digitalization of our services, and we have taken several awards over the last years. So we have developed several tools for pricing comparison tools, energy cost. Now we're developing for charging cost for electric vehicles. We have developed tools for the consumer's complaint, my.rai, and we are now extending this to incorporate energy mediation for supporting consumers. We also developed some tools for energy saving, like electricity cost calculator and building energy saving, to help to engage consumers to understand the bills and energy saving. And we also developing some other tools for giving the capability to the consumers to make complaints like whistleblowing for the energy sector. All these tools, they engage the consumers. And please allow me to make a parallelism. In the same way that big companies like Airbnb, Uber, Amazon, they don't owe assets, but they create a marketplace where these asset owners participate and are active in and give value in a marketplace. In the same way, with all these tools, we engage consumer, we create a consumer place where the consumer have an active role. We show already these tools that have very successful results. For example, the complaints have been decreased 6 times in the period, of course, with the intervention of the state, with a crucial role of the regulator, as you know. So we think that transforming the regulator from a B2B to B2C relationship is something innovative, and this has gained a lot of interest from other foreign regulators, and they ask for their support. Of course, we have a lot of work to do, and we are developing step by step our services to the consumers. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Dagoumas. For Cyprus, which is located in the southeastern Mediterranean, Mr. Poullikkas, and as we know, the huge natural gas reserve and also a distinct renewable potential. So how can these assets help Cyprus overcome the disadvantage of being an isolated energy pillar in the region and become climate neutral?
First, let me start with the characteristics of isolated systems of isolated energy systems. First, we have high fuel cost because in most of these systems we are using oil derivatives, and also in the case of a member state, which is the case of Cyprus, the cost of the CO2 emissions as well. Also, the economics of scale cannot be adequately exploited in such small isolated systems because with the introduction of large units, that means in the case of a fault, we will have large interruptions of electricity or maybe a blackout in the small or in the isolated system. Also, in such systems, we need to maintain high capacity reserves. That means higher cost. As a rule of thumb, the higher the smaller the system, the higher the cost. Now, in the case of Cyprus, we have in terms of renewable energy sources, today almost 700 megawatt installed capacity, around 520 megawatt of photovoltaics, 150 megawatt of wind, as well as 30 megawatt of biomass. And also in terms of conventional technologies, we have around 1,500 megawatt of conventional technologies using heavy fuel oil and diesel. Now, with the increasing penetration of renewable energy sources in the island, that means that the reliability of the system is affected, and therefore we need to take actions. And we already started taking actions. First, in short term, to introduce storage as well as natural gas to the island to make the system more flexible, using, of course, renewable energy sources, and also the promotion of e-mobility as well, especially the V2G technology. And as you all know, this is a bidirectional technology that actually can actually inject electricity to and from the vehicles. Also, in the medium term, the plan is to establish an electricity interconnection with the internal electricity market of the European Union. And in fact, Cyprus is the only member state that is not electrically interconnected. And in the long term, the plan is to proceed with the production of hydrogen coming from natural gas reforming, and also green hydrogen from renewable energy sources. And this comes to the, let's say, regional corporation from the Southeast Mediterranean region countries, that is Egypt, Israel, Cyprus, Greece as well. We know that we have the natural gas reserves from Egypt, the natural gas reserves from Israel, the potential natural gas reserves from Cyprus, and also the potential gas reserves from Greece. This is one resource that can be exploited. Also, we have solar resources in the Southeast Mediterranean region, as well as in some areas, wind as well. So by combining all these three resources, we can actually produce hydrogen, and in the long term, for the region to become exported of energy, of sustainable energy to the European Union. Also, in terms of Cyprus, Cyprus can become a climate neutral by 2050 by setting targets by 2050 to reduce greenhouse gas emissions by 100%, for example. But in order to achieve this, we need, first of all, to have a plan, as I mentioned before. We need to exploit the natural gas reserves in Cyprus, as well the potential of all renewable energy sources, which is mainly solar, with the production of green hydrogen. And by then, we can then transform the electricity system of Cyprus, the energy system of Cyprus, to a smart and digitized system, flexible system, decentralized, electrically interconnected, as well as interconnected with pipelines, natural gas pipelines in the first run, but also hydrogen ready for hydrogen production, and then transportation in the future, but maybe virtual pipelines as well. So by 2050, we may have the state of Cyprus, the island of Cyprus, climate neutral by using hydrogen in all sectors, renewable energy sources, storage, and e-mobility.
Thank you. All these new technologies like hydrogen, offshore wind, new interconnections, and also massive growth of renewables, as Mr. Poullikkas have mentioned them, are, critical pillars for the energy transition. So for Greece, what are the main challenges arising from the implementation of these technologies for the Greek energy market and also for the Greek energy system, Mr. Dagoumas?
I think a clear framework has to be identified. This concerns that the ministry to identify the national climate and energy plan, the regulator to adapt all the regulatory framework needed, the operators, network operators and market operators to make the appropriate changes. Concerning the regulator, of course, we have digitalized all the process for licensing and for auctions, which have created a lot of competition in the market. We also push the market operator and the network operators to make changes in the relevant market participation of demand response and renewables in order to have more competition in the market. The network operators have a crucial role, and that's why in the market reform plan we have already incorporated the TSO, DSO coordination, because it's very crucial for the identification of reserves, for the identification of the network capability of the capacity that can be implemented. And of course, the market participants have to make decisions on market-based also, not only on support schemes, in order those developments to take place. That's why several PPAs already take place, which is something that we didn't have in the previous years. And all of us have to be professional in our commitments. Surely, the main challenges concern the stability of the energy system because of the rapid penetration of the renewables. So it's very important to have also a penetration of storage, as well as of voltage regulators, reactive powers, or other assets that the network operators will identify in order those assets to be able to participate in the market and to eliminate curtailments for the future. It's very important, the system security, and always for the regulator and the state, of course, is the elimination of the total energy system cost for the energy transition.
I really thank you both for the insightful discussion. It was a little bit fast, but we need to catch up on time. So the world is taking. Thank you very much.